Hello, friends. So let's start today's session. Classify aortic dissection. There are two different classifications. One is the DeBakey's classification, and that's the Stanford's classification, as we know. DeBakey's classification tells about A, B, and C. In A, the ascending aorta is involved, and minimum it has to reach at least the arch of aorta. To maximum it can reach any extent, but from the ascending it has to reach minimum the arch. This is type A. The second variety is only the ascending without touching the arch. Second is only the third variety is only the descending aorta. Right, let's see. So DeBakey's classification, type 1 is originates in the ascending aorta and propagates at least to the arch, maybe beyond. Type 2 originates in and confined to ascending aorta only. Type 3 is descending aorta only. So Stanford simply says about ascending aorta, any dissection which involves ascending aorta is type A. Any dissection which does not involve ascending aorta is type B. So drugs that can be removed by hemoperfusion. I'm not speaking about hemodialysis, friends. I'm speaking about hemoperfusion. What is the difference between hemoperfusion, hemodialysis? In a regular dialysis, if you keep an added cartridge which contains either a charcoal or resin that can absorb certain toxins or drugs, it's called as hemoperfusion. So what all drugs, if in toxic doses, can be taken out by hemoperfusion method? It's barbiturates, carbamazepine, theophylline, valproic acid. Okay, please to remember this. This can be your exam question. Now tell me drugs that can be removed by hemodialysis. We know that, right? Slime BC. What is that slime BC? SLIME BC. S stands for salicylates, L stands for lithium, I stands for isopropanol, SLIM, M stands for methanol, E stands for ethylene glycol, BC stands for beta blockers and CCBs. Okay, slime, SLIME, slime BC. Come on, friends. KDIGO, the very favorite question for every examiner. Being an intensivist, we need to answer this. First question is, what is KDIGO? What is the expansion of KDIGO? And how are you going to classify the kidney injury? Okay. The acute kidney injury type 1, type 2, or stage 1, stage 2, stage 3 is very easy to understand. Stage 1 is the creatinine level 1.5 to 2 times. Stage 2 is creatinine level up to 3 times. Stage 3 is creatinine level more than 3 times. That's all. So stage 1 is 1.5 to 2 times. Stage 2 is up to 3 times. Stage 3 is more than 3 times. It has some urine criteria also. 0.5 ml per kg for first 6 to 12 hours is stage 1. If it is same for more than 12 hours, it is stage 2. If it is 0.3, less than 0.3 ml per kg for 24 hours, it's stage 3, or anuric comes in stage 3. Okay. So KDIGO is kidney disease improving global outcome. That's called KDIGO, kidney disease improving global outcomes. So only one criteria has to be fulfilled to qualify for a stage. In stage 1, as I told you, is less than 2 times baseline. Stage 2 is less than 3 times baseline of creatinine. Stage 3 is 3 times the baseline creatinine, or RRT. Urine output criteria less than 0.5 per kg per hour for 6 to 12 hours. If it's same for more than 12 hours, it's stage 2. If it's less than 0.3 for more than 24 hours, or anuric, stage 3. Okay, this is KDIGO criteria, kidney disease improving global outcomes. Hess and Hunt for subarachnoid hemorrhage. In the Hess and Hunt, there are two variables, dear friends. One speaks about the brain and one speaks about the peripheries, the nerves. Okay. Now come to HNN system. I mean, grade 5. The brain is comatose and the body is in posturing, the maximum, right? So 4 is less than comatose is stupor and periphery is hemiparesis. Number 3, brain is confused lethargic and periphery mild focal deficit. Number 2, it's not a confusion, it's a headache and nuchal rigidity, and for periphery it's just a cranial palsy or nuchal rigidity. And number 1 is asymptomatic or mild disease, mild headache, right? This is Hessenhunt grading system. Is there any other scale that you remember in subarachnoid hemorrhage apart from this Hessenhunt? It's World Federation of Neurosurgical Society scale. What you need to remember is both grade 1 and grade 2 does not have motor deficit, and grade 3 starts with motor deficit, okay, and grade 3 is 13 to 14. With this one thing we can fill up the others. What is the definition of status epilepticus? Seizure lasting longer than 30 minutes or repetitive seizures without a return to baseline level of consciousness within the 30 minutes. Either the continuous seizure or the intermittent seizure for 30 minutes without bringing back the level of consciousness. It's status epilepticus. What is PERC? Pulmonary embolism or rule out criteria. When there is a Gestalt rule and the Gestalt suspicion is very low, clinical suspicion of Gestalt scoring system is very low, then only you should perform this PERC. If Gestalt scoring system is high suspicion, you should never perform the PERC. In PERC, all the 8 parameters should satisfy to tell that the patient has very limited or even unlikely to have a pulmonary embolism. Right? That is age less than 50, pulse oxygen saturation is normal, heart rate is normal, no previous embolism episodes, and no recent surgery, that is within 4 weeks. That's very important. No hemoptysis, no insulin use, and no unilateral leg swelling. All 8 should be present to classify that the patient has very less likely or unlikely to have pulmonary embolism. What is fast hug? During our fast rounds during the ICU, this is what we do, right? FAST HUG. What is that? When we see a patient, always think about the feeding of fluids, analgesia, sedation, thromboprophylaxis, head up position, ulcer prophylaxis, glycemic control, spontaneous breathing trial or the supplement O2, bowel care, indwelling catheters, whether should we remove or not, and drug de-escalation, or just see the drug chart. Okay, so this is called as fast hugs, and make sure you do this for each and every patient you see in ICU. HIT, heparin-induced thrombocytopenia. So how can you have suspicion over a HIT? You started the patient with heparin and the patient develops a thrombocytopenia. Can you straight away say that there's a high chance of this could be HIT, and when will you send antibodies for HIT? Not all patients require antibodies, right? So it's very simple. There's grade 0, 1 and 2. If the thrombocytopenia, I mean the fall in platelet is less than 30%, 0. If the fall is 30 to 50%, grade 1. If it's more than 50%, you have a score of 2. And the timing is very important. 5 to 10 days of initiation of heparin therapy is the usual perfect timing. So it has a score of 2. Anything more than 10 days is score of 1. Anything less than 5 days is score of 0. Regarding the thrombus, any new thrombus is score 2. Any progressive or recurrent thrombus is going to be 1. No thrombus, 0. Other cause of thrombocytopenia, absolutely nothing means score of 2. Maybe a chance or possible is score of 1. And definitely there's other cause of thrombocytopenia, means the score is 0. Okay. So if a patient has 0 to 3 as a score, then he has very, very unlikely chance to develop a heparin-induced thrombocytopenia. Or 4 to 5 is intermediate, 6 to 8 is very high chance, and you can send a PF4 heparin antibody testing in this patient, right? So this is for today's class, dear friends. Hope you got all 10 correct. Keep revising, and see you tomorrow. Thank you.